It was cool to see you.
Likewise, it's been a
Been
while. It's been a while since we spoke.
yeah,
Right,
forever and 5 minutes ago.
right.
um, Let me think. I had a question earlier today that I
Mm,
wanted to ask. Um, we kind of stopped the other evening at a good point when we were talking about dating as neurodivergence. Um, we were touching base on containment, and I had some thoughts about the difference between, I guess, like macro containment and micro containment, because we talked a lot about the frame, the keeping frame.
right.
Um, but I've also thought about how sometimes language can even affect how things shift within the frame. Um, like, I think there's some things you can say that you don't mean it in a certain way, but sometimes people can feel it as like pressure or responsibility too soon in a connection. Um, like, I think there's this line that one of my other mentors, one of my Christian mentors, told me once. The caveat: this is a married man, father of two adult men,
Right.
good relationship, good life. So
Mm-hmm.
I think from one side I should have considered that with his advice. But he used to tell me that when I liked a girl, I should tell her, I know my days get better when you show up in them. Um,
Mm.
I feel like, and when I used to use it, I didn't think much of it. Now, granted, it feels like a very safety heavy thing to say, but also I feel like I have to wonder sometimes when I say things like that, you're like giving like an emotional responsibility to people without actually understanding the words you're saying. Um, like, I guess, for example, if someone is more avoidant, they might feel or perceive that as, well, now I'm responsible for making his day better.
Right.
You know, little micro language, meanings like that. But I guess, what are your thoughts on saying things like that to certain people?
It just needs to be appropriate given the phase you are in within the relationship, right?
Right,
That's not something you say at the beginning.
right, right. And I never did.
Right. Right.
It'd be a little crazy, crazy talk with
Yeah.
someone you've only been on a few coffee dates with or something like that.
Right.
No, this would usually be like months in or something, but um, I have to wonder if I
I'm
should like
like,
say
to
things.
be honest with you, I'm not saying that to nobody unless we're in a relationship, to be honest.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's a very relational thing to say.
Right.
Um, but
Unless
I
like you
think
were saying that like in as a bridge to asking them to be in a relationship, right? Like in a big romantic way. That's not something I would just drop like that. I mean, there will
right.
be some people who respond positively to it. Some women who would respond positively to it, but um,
Like,
I
I
probably
might
go ahead.
like the one. There was one time I used it, and granted, this was pre-relational. Um, got this girl flowers a few dates in. She received them very well, and she even messaged me about them like a few weeks. She sent me like a picture of them. She had them in a vase. She was talking about how they're still vibrant, and she's like, "Oh, this must mean like the maiden tales are true about long living flowers." So I would usually like stitch it in then. So I'd be like, well, I know my day gets better when you show up in it. So the flowers must feel the same way. So I would say it like that.
Mm,
Now, granted, I do agree with you. If I were to ever use that again, it would be if I was in a relationship with someone for a while, not something done in the like dating stages. But
right.
um, just thinking about how you have to, you know, how fragile frame can be with your wording and how you can shift the meaning of something even though you don't mean to shift it.
Sure. I mean,
Like, saying something like that might put me emotionally ahead of someone, right? Like, if they're not in a place to be ready for that, that completely makes things asymmetrical in a bad way, not in the polarity way that you want to keep it in, but like saying something like that, they may register that as like, oh, he's like very serious and I'm not there yet.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like hearing you talk about this, and granted, we're at like different phases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm at, I don't even think that way anymore. Like I'm not editing myself almost at all at this point.
Mm.
So everything that I teach is embodied now. So I don't have to think anymore. So
Yeah.
I just naturally instinctually I do both the most calibrated thing, but also the thing that most accurately represents where I am in the moment. And if it's not reciprocated, then it's not reciprocated. In other words, it depends. My answer would change based on who the person is I'm talking to. So, for example, if I was to feel the way you're describing, I would only feel that way after we've been with each other for a long time, like dating for a
Mm.
while, right? So once I arrive at the point where I even want to say something like that, it's probably not too early.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now, if you're like
Yeah.
more anxious, you're probably going to feel that way week two, right? In which case, it's not that you're saying the wrong thing; it is that you have to work on the
Right.
calibration aspect of things. But if you're a little bit more grounded,
Yeah.
you can kind of just express things as you feel them to a degree. That's why I said it starts with like leaning into the persona and being a bit of a performance. It's really just you learning a new skill, and then it
Mm-hmm.
gets to embody. Like the best analogy I can give you is driving. When you first get into a car, everything's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Everything's overwhelming. You're overthinking everything. You forget steps. Oh, I didn't check the mirrors. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, that noise I keep hearing is my seatbelt isn't on, right? And then you drive so much, you get to a point where it's like you can drive an hour and be like, I don't even remember getting here because I was so zoned
Mm-hmm.
out, but I just naturally, mechanically did all the right, this very
Right.
complicated task. I just did it kind of like intuitively. So that's where you can kind of get with this stuff. It's like, I'm not actively thinking about it. I'm not like, so should I say this now or is it too soon? It's not even a thought at this point. It's more, um, if I want to say something like that, it's probably naturally going to just land at the right moment, you know. But to your point, if we're talking to people who are not at where I'm at, yeah, you can say stuff like that too soon. Um, if you are saying it too soon, then it's like, well, why are you saying it too soon? Is it because there's some attachment issues you may have, per my last
Mm.
point of being like anxious? Are you saying that month one, month two, right? Or are you saying it at a point where it should be said? And if you are, then if that scares her, then she probably should be scared. At this point, it is now a filtering mechanism.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And I feel like I kind of oscillate because there's moments where I will just express things naturally,
Right.
where I just go through the motions, and then there's times where, and I think I do it with everything in my life, where like my brain just naturally analyzes things,
Mm-hmm.
tries to understand it in depth,
Right.
um, and I'm trying to learn when to ignore that tendency in the right moments. Because in dating, that's not the best mode to be in. You really want to be kind of somatic and present.
Right. Right. It's really you want to like back to the minimum effective dose situation.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get to a place where you're no longer sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
Everything after that, any learning after that is like just cherries on top, right? It's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
So once you get to a point where you're no longer sabotaging yourself and you're just generally attractive, and being generally attractive is just like it's more of a process of removal than it is skill acquisition. It's like
Mm-hmm.
80% removal of social conditioning and fear and all that kind of stuff, and 20% skill acquisition.
Yeah.
Once you've done the 80% of the removal, you're able to like be courageous, go after what you want, make moves, be in touch with your masculine core. At that point, you can just let it fly and express yourself, and the right women will respond to it. Yes, you can layer 20% of skill acquisition on top of that, and you can force a connection that's naturally going to die anyway, which is the
Mm.
trap, right? Because think about it,
Right.
most guys don't learn this stuff, and a lot of guys are in relationships. Every one of my friends who is married and stuff, they when I talk to them, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. They have no idea what I'm
Yeah.
talking about because they've done
Right.
they've done a lot of the 80% of just the removal of the sabotaging behavior, the nice
Right.
guy shit, the fear, the fear for making a move, right? The waiting for
Mm-hmm.
the woman to give you a sign, all that kind of stuff has been handled. So they just take messy action and a woman can who's just vibing with them can go. Because here's the thing, the feminine is so chaotic. Like the masculine wants to make sense from chaos.
Yeah.
That's kind of how women serve us. They give us something chaotic to put structure to, right?
Structure for
Right.
it. Yeah.
So, but they're so chaotic. No model of their behavior is going to accurately capture all the nuances. You can do everything wrong and still find yourself in some yams, or still find yourself in a relationship. You can do everything right, and then she runs away. That's the truth. Doesn't help me as
Yeah.
a business owner to share information like that, right? But it that's the truth though.
Mhm.
It's very chaotic. So you have to abandon this idea. It's like new levels, new devils, right?
Mhm.
So the level you're at now, it's like the lesson is going to be more so a situation where you just need to surrender, abandon yourself to divine providence, right?
Mhm.
To fate,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
just shoot, right? It's no need to just constantly over optimize, because yeah, you could get better, but it's like, what are we doing at that point? Are we just trying to learn skills just to learn skills? Like you can make the argument that that's something that I should do because I teach. So
Mhm.
like it's probably the onus is on me to know this stuff so that I can teach, right? And I had to have that conversation with myself. I was like, do I have to really date more? I don't think I have to date more. I think I'm done. There's more I can learn for sure. Like I'm not a masterful code approacher. Like I'm not someone like this is
Right.
step by step how you code approach, and I'm gonna show you how to do it perfectly. Mm-mm. Right? I never had to do it that much. So
Right.
um, it's not necessary. You don't need to learn all that shit, right? It's you learn what's keeping you stuck, and then you just put yourself back out there, and then the right women are going to resonate with you. Because a lot of these guys who teach this stuff, and it's like they're just forcing connections because they need to be validated by just cracking as many women as possible, or the most beautiful women on the planet, right? So like, that's what's motivating them. Can I sleep with? And then it's like they have to keep challenging themselves by, okay, let me get like inaccessible women. Then it's like, let me get really young women. And let me get virgin women. And let me get, you know what I mean? They just keep trying to make it harder and harder and harder and harder to
Right.
to to keep validating themselves. And it's like it's just goofy at a certain point.
Right. Right. So I guess at this point I'm kind of just gorging on cherries. Trying to
I won't say
learn.
you're there. I won't say you're there yet. I'm just saying like this that will be the next block that you hit. What the hell's going on?
So just surrendering.
Yeah, just trusting yourself,
Mhm.
right? And understanding that at this point, if something doesn't click, it means it wasn't supposed to. And if you made it click, it's still not supposed to click. But now you're
Mhm.
just kind of wasting your time forcing a connection that
Right.
shouldn't exist in the first place.
We're trying to optimize for something that doesn't need to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could just approach this imperfectly,
Mm-hmm.
learn the lessons I need to if I'm sabotaging, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, like all the mistakes that I tell y'all not to make, like losing frame, all this kind of stuff. There's guys do it all the time, and they still in a relationship, right? Like the expectation is not perfection,
Mhm.
but I think that to that point, though, I think that if your aim is a top tier relationship, you need to learn a good chunk of this, right? Like
Mhm.
a top people don't understand how rare it is to have like a genuine, happy, valuable relationship. That's rare. Getting married and stuff like that is not as rare. To have a happy marriage, to have a happy relationship that stands the test of time, that's a very rare thing. Don't
Mhm.
think you're just going to stumble your way into it. It doesn't work
Right.
like that. You're going to have to put in some real effort in order to create that type of dynamic. Like, think
Mhm.
about how many people you know personally who are genuinely happy in their relationship or marriage. I can count on one hand how many I know.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's not a matter
Yeah.
of the right person. It's not a matter of like, I mean, that's part of it, right? It's part of the equation, but it's not as simple as like, this is not the right person. No, you're lacking skills.
Yeah, and I imagine the only two people I know is my older sister and my younger sister. My older sister met her boyfriend or her husband now in high school. My younger sister met hers in middle school,
Right.
and they did ever since. So they definitely don't have any of those initial skills. I mean, they met when they were kids. I mean,
Hmm.
you know.
That's a cheat
So
code. That's the cheat code. It
yeah.
comes with its own. I mean, there's trade offs to everything, but like the cheat code, the two of the four relationships I know of that are happy, these are marriages where
Mhm.
people in my family who went from high school sweethearts to being married. And one couple that I'm thinking of is younger, so it's like a younger cousin of mine, and they've been married for probably like I want to say 5 years. So verdict is
Mhm.
still out. The other one is that couple, the male of that couple, his grandmother married her high school sweetheart. So like she's like
Mhm.
approaching 80 and has been married for
Yeah.
decades, and it's like, and then her daughter also has a marriage like that. It's right.
Yeah.
It's and that's why it's so important to like model this to children, right? Because it's easier to learn when you see it. It's like
Mhm.
Toy Story. Tolstoy says all happy families are alike. All unhappy families differ in their dysfunction. So there's like one path
Right.
to like a happy relationship, but there's numerous paths to an unhappy one, right? So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I imagine so. I guess my focus should probably be. I mean, part of me likes absorbing this knowledge because it's interesting, but obviously, to embody what I've been learning and executing already,
right.
I need to surrender.
No, there's nothing wrong with like you learning more either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like,
Right.
oh, what comes after
Heart
you?
posture is
Yeah,
for the reasoning is important.
100%. Right. Like, what happens after you learn it? Are you learning it just because you just like nerding out on this stuff, or are you? Is it stopping you from moving forward? Is it causing you to be more neurotic? That's when it's not helpful
Right.
anymore.
Right. Yeah. And in that example I gave, that was something I did a minute ago. I was just trying to think of an example for, I guess, the topic of containment. I guess I pulled us like way off the rails with it, but yeah, um, that makes a lot of sense. Just having a sense for the right times to do things, and to be honest, it wouldn't really affect the right person.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's. I don't know, man. It's just the real work is just getting in touch with that masculine core.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys
Just
just aren't in touch with that, and it's they all their energy is in their head, right? It's in their
yeah,
head, which is probably a problem that you have as well, right? It's probably like a challenge.
absolutely.
It's getting out of your head and into your body because that's like it's funny, like getting the pathway to masculinity and femininity is both like just getting more,
In the breath, as Uncle Ira would say.
getting in touch with your body, right? So it's bringing that awareness from the head to like the body, and then when men do it, they just become more masculine. When women do it, they become more feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what really all the magic is, man. It's not being trapped in your head. Like I always tell clients to not assess or analyze in the moment, just do it after the fact. So if you're texting, like don't be thinking like, what's the frame here? What do I just text? Just have a
Right.
conversation. If you're on a date, just have a conversation. Just interact, engage. And after the fact, like, okay, let's replay it. Was there anything that you can learn
Yeah.
from that experience?
This is advice I have to give a lot of guys during the speed dating too. Even some women, because they'll ask like, "What should I know?" or "What should I ask them?" Because they tend to lean more into the compatibility logistics, and I'm like, you're essentially paying to be on like 10 to 12 mini like first dates. These are essentially first dates. All you want to do is just converse, just be yourself, see if you vibe with people. You know, the reason I do the matching cards and stuff is because you don't have to think about it at all. You just talk to people and you check a box, and I handle that end of the thing.
Hmm.
So all you have to do is just vibe, and you get your answer later that day. Um, it's just focus on vibes, and that's kind of how I approach first dates and stuff too. Um, I think most of my analyzing comes when the relationships end, when it is over, you know. And
Right.
I would say, as someone that used to be a lot more anxiously attached, um, I've gotten better at the actual engagement of the relationship, like not responding to that anxiety. But usually once it ends or cuts off, that's when I ruminate or spiral or overanalyze,
Mm-hmm.
or that's when I get really anxious about stuff. It's always when it's over now, and a lot of it's very internal. I think externally, I've gotten really good about just kind of. I always say, stay in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
The best plays are made when you stay in the pocket, not
Right.
when you scramble. So, still working on the internal world of that, but externally, I feel like I've gotten a lot smoother in that process of just being present, especially when it doesn't feel threatening.
Right. Yeah. Presence is like guys like always shrug their shoulders when I talk about presence and stuff like that because they don't understand it from like a first principle perspective, but they want to know like the next hack. They're not thinking long term enough. They're just thinking about like the next W. And I'm like, think long term, bro. Like, if I just tell you what to say in this text message, how does that help you? Because she's going to respond, and now you're going to need me to hold your hand through the next phase, right? Then what are you going to do on the date if your personality via text doesn't match the in person experience? Have you thought about that, genius?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I didn't. Oh. Like, come on, man. Presence is going to be
huge.
It's so important to just be in the present moment. That's where the connection actually happens. You're not connecting if you're not in the present moment. Not for real. You're just performing. And then I think to a certain degree that can be felt, right? Like people can tell when you're not really connected to them. Even when I'm talking to people on these lives and you notice like if I ask them a question or if I make a statement and they respond too quickly, like I say, does that make sense? Like, and what about, and this goes right to the next question. I'm like, you didn't hear what I just said, or else your gears would still be turning and you would still be processing a little bit what I just told you. By you just going right to the next question, the shit I just said to you didn't land. And I know if it didn't land, you're not going to change your behavior. So this goofy situation you're talking to me about is going to continue to be Disney World level goofy because you're not going to change anything about it, right? So, yeah, you just have to
with a deflection from a question, trying to ask them something and they keep deflecting or bouncing off.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I hate what people do, but I can't control it. I just gotta roll my eyes when it happens. But yeah, I would say a lot of it is just focusing on the Pareto principle to shit, right? It's like what's the 20% that's gonna give you 80% of the results. One of those things is presence. One of those things are presence.
Yeah, this is true. I think that's probably why I do well in the early stages. I do pretty decently in the early phases. I just I guess need to stay consistent with my presence. Just kind of relax into it a bit, not think so much about. It's important to think in the future and have that kind of mindset, but not be too. I kind of do the same thing that you talk about when sometimes you might. I guess it's called fantasy projection when you think about the connection and what it can be. I could do things like that too, but that also takes you out of the present moment, you know, when you're thinking too much about what you'd like the connection to be.
Yeah. Happens to me a lot too. Like I said, when that happens to me, I kind of just like gently nudge myself back to the present moment.
Yeah. I think I need to work on that because the only thing I've really done to cope with that is to manage the expectation. Like, instead of thinking to a certain point in the future, I've kind of taught myself to be more realistic about it. Like, instead of thinking of like a longer, deeper relationship, think about what the relationship would be like in a month. You know, what does that relationship look like? And I guess still point my fantasy in a direction so it's coming out, but not making it so grandiose or so far into the future. But I imagine even that still pulls you out of the present moment, and it also, whatever you fantasize about, you tend to have to grieve when things don't work your way. So I need to work about just pulling myself back. What is something you usually tell yourself in those moments?
I don't tell myself anything. It's kind of like just a natural instinct. It's like, oh, I noticed I just projected. Let me just nudge back to the present moment.
Okay, so you just call it what it is.
I just notice it, and then I just nudge myself back too, because I just know it's not really healthy.
Yeah.
It can kind of make you a bit more invested than necessary. But like, yeah, so like, there's books that help with this kind of stuff. Like The Power of Now is a powerful book that you can read about,
Uh-huh.
just being in the present moment, stuff like that. Meditation has helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
Just being in the present moment. Meditation is huge. As far as cultivating presence,
Uh-huh.
huge, 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 huge.
I do feel like I need to meditate more. I have an extra room now, and I think I might change it into a meditation room because my brain runs 100 miles a minute. Sometimes I have like a bunch of thoughts going off at once. I
Right,
don't know if that's just the ADHD or just how I function, but I'm constantly, my brain is constantly running.
right.
And I'm not medicated either, which I'm considering it. I know you've recommended it, and I've never medicated before, so it might be worth experimenting with to see for those more niche issues, being
Hmm.
neurodivergent and such. Because it would be nice to just have like a clear mind,
Right,
one task at a time kind of thing. Like even on my stream, like I have like 4 tabs open at the same time. I'm talking on stream, doing homework, so
right,
just trying to organize myself a bit more.
right.
And it'd probably make my dating life a lot smoother in here.
It might, but like when I take ADHD medication, I have to make a conscious effort to still have flexibility in my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a difference between the night lives and the afternoon lives. The afternoon lives, I'm medicated, I'm locked in, and I have to like remind myself to like have a sense of humor. It's the funny, like y'all may not notice it, but I notice it. Like, oh, I need to be a bit more flexible here because I'm being very like militant in how I'm engaging right now. And then at night, you're more loose. You know what I mean? Chilling, vibing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, just taking it at the right times when I need to take it versus when I need to be more myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You get better answers though. I can tell you that. I get better answers when I'm medicated. When I'm medicated, bro, I feel like a fucking genius. I'm like, all the brain fog goes away. I'm like, oh, I can access the shit that I already know.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm unmedicated, it's like, I know this, but it's retrieval is slower. Like I can't retrieve it. But anyway, yeah. I mean, like I said, man, it's just Pareto principle. That focus on the 20%. Really, and this is really another thing about like just focusing on your edge. You know, just what is your next edge? Like for men, we just need to always define what an edge is and then lean into that edge. So the worst thing for men is comfort. That doesn't mean you're never comfortable. That just means that you don't want to stay in a comfort state. What they say? What's it
Yeah.
saying? Like hard times make strong men. Strong men make good
Good
times, and then
times.
good times make soft men.
Yep.
Right?
And soft and make hard times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
I think I was
cycle.
talking to Mr. O'Neill about a similar topic of being comfortable earlier today. Um, but I understand the sentiment. I think I just need to learn to direct myself towards my actual edge and not the edge I think I have.
Yeah, I mean, the sign of that is like fear and just discomfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when you are uncomfortable, you're obviously on some degree of your edge, and you have
Yeah.
multiple edges as well. So like this business has been an edge for some time. At first, this live was an edge. Like when Hannah was me, Hannah, and like what 10, 20 people in here. This
Mm-hmm.
was an edge. I was like, I don't know, going live. Oh, that's real. I don't
Yeah.
have any control over live, right? And
I
then
remember my first call up here. I have to look at it to hear what I sounded like, but I'm pretty sure I was nervous. I was super uncomfortable.
right,
Like, I don't know, I've never really talked publicly about my dating life.
right.
And it went well, and I learned a lot, so.
Exactly. Just always identify that, and then once you get comfortable, it's like, okay, that's what's the next dragon I have to slay, and then that's just life.
Yeah.
It's just life now. It's like people these fantasize about like no problems. That's kind of like the whole like retirement thing. Like I retire, I have no problem. No, you're gonna have problems. Just believe it. Something's always gonna be going wrong, but you build yourself. You build capacity.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And I think I've grown to have like a high capacity for discomfort. least compared to my peers.
Right.
Because I'll have conversations with them about stuff, and like, for example, the barber friend I was telling you about, like, she constantly stays on the dating apps, and I'm also constantly pushing her to get off the dating apps and do more in-person stuff. And
Right.
she's like, I'm nervous, I'm scared of meeting people, and I'm like, you have to have some courage. You know, it's uncomfortable, but once you get used to it, it's fine to be more social.
Right.
So,
Have we
but I
been
guess
talking
when
for?
I have conversations like that, whether it's like getting into a sport like rugby or like paddle boarding in like a crazy lake with a bunch of boats, or whether it's starting hosting events like I haven't done before, I do well in those moments. I guess just calibrating where I need to aim this skill
Right.
or this ability to sit in that discomfort.
Right. That's it. It just takes practice. You got it. Let's move on to Monica though. I didn't know we were talking for like damn near 45 minutes, bro. We gotta
Oh, my bad.
keep it moving.
I didn't see them stacking. That's usually my like indicator to
Right.
hop
Right.
off. But awesome.
All right,
Well, I
brother.
appreciate the talk.
Absolutely. Till next time, man.
Hmm?
All right, Monica. What's going on?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Would it be okay if I asked about a specific situation?
Sure.
Okay, so I just had a question because like I'm pretty new to like online dating.
Okay.
And I recently met this guy online like 2 weeks ago, and I honestly was just on there to mess around on Hinge. Like I didn't think I would find anything like serious. And then I ended up I met like this guy, and like he pretty much said he wasn't on there much. So I like he got my number, and then like I kind of just like was letting it die off, and then he like called me. And he was just like, oh, like, you didn't respond, so I wanted to see what was going on and whatever, and I learned more about him, and, like, he's, kind of, I found out, like, he has the same, like, religious beliefs, and he's, like, in my community, so, like, it became more realistic, but the only issue is that, like, I'm out of town. I'm originally from California, but I'm out of town for work until, like, July, so we wouldn't be able to like meet up for a while, and like I told him that I'm visiting California in May, so we have something planned, and like because like I really am like starting to like be more into him, we were like talking, and then we had this crazy idea to get away, like to go on a 2-day trip or something when we meet, but like that was like when I thought about it, that was like, and like I was like, that's too much for me, because like I haven't like hooked up much or anything like that, and I'm very particular about it. So like I didn't want him to get the wrong idea. So then I ended up like kind of like telling him, you know what, let's just go to like dinner, like that's a bit much. And then like he's just like acting like today, like he was just acting kind of like bummed out about it. And like he was just saying that like he's super excited about me, and that like he's bummed out, and that like it's just been like really hard for him because of like the way that he feels about me so far in the conversations we've had, that like the physical aspect is really difficult for him to like deal with. And like I was like trying to like, I made it clear, you know, like in terms of like any sexual relationship, I have to like, that's like far down the line for me. Like I want to know that there's something there that's like serious. And like he brought that up, and he was just telling me like, I'm just letting you know like how I feel it's like really difficult to me. And like he kind of said like he's like always horny, like ever since like he started speaking to me and stuff. And like it's in a way where it's like I don't completely feel like he's pressuring me, but he's just telling me he's being transparent with me. And like I don't really know how to take it, because honestly, like from what I'm gauging, he really does seem to be like seriously like interested in me and wanting a future, but I also know that people just want to get in your pants, so I don't know.
Okay. So what's the question here?
I guess like what do I do to like gauge like his true intention? Like, because I don't know, like, as a guy, if like you met a girl online that you were super into, but like you couldn't really go on a date with her for 2 months, like, how would you feel? And like, would you feel that way? I guess, like, sexually frustrated, and like, if you're really feeling that person.
Have y'all been on a date at all?
No, we met online while I was out of town for work.
On a dating app?
Yeah.
And he's telling you that he's sexually frustrated because he can't see you?
Yeah, but it's coming out very like very direct in this conversation. It was more of like, we're gonna like kind of like go on a trip because we want to like spend like a good amount of time together before I'm away again for 2 months.
Okay, so you haven't met him in person yet, and you're planning a trip with him?
Yeah, that's why that was on a whim though. Yeah, and that's why I thought it was crazy and I backed out of it. And he like was just saying that like he's hurt about it.
Okay, so after the trip, that's when he started talking about being horny.
After what?
After the trip was canceled, that's when he was like, I need to get a rock off, right? Is that what happened? Is that when he started talking about like his desires? Is after the trip was canceled?
No, because before that he was telling me like physical intimacy is really important to him. Like he was expressing that, but it wasn't in like a sexual way. He was saying that like that's something like he thinks it's important in a relationship.
Right. Okay, so how old are you two?
I'm 28.
How old is he?
He's 31.
Okay. Have y'all matched on Hinge?
Yeah.
Okay. FaceTime or just phone calls or just texting?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, we've had FaceTime dates. Like, he'll figure out when I'm available, and like, we've watched a movie together, and like, he's like he's a very busy person. Like, I can tell from his like schedule. Or I guess based off what he tells
What
me
he
because of
tells
the
you.
face you're making. But
Right.
like,
There you go.
yeah, like he does like we did have like movie dates and like just conversations where like the sex didn't come up at all. Like, what are your goals? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like those kind of conversations.
Yeah, I don't like it, love.
Okay.
It's kind of abnormal to match with someone like that, and then kind of just plan a trip immediately. But like I get meeting and everything like that. Um, but you're like from his city, or is he from your city?
Yeah, I'm originally from like nearby, and like we ended up being from the same community and everything. He's like, I don't get how we never crossed paths before, and so.
Yeah, I mean, I see the game. I see the game that's being
Okay.
played here. It's like you got me saying like now, Jesus Christ. Okay.
I know I say it a lot.
So what he was attempting was, we're going to go on a trip and we're going to be like isolated. I'm going to let you know before we go on this trip that physical intimacy is very important to me.
Well,
Which
I
is
brought up the trip on a crazy whim, and I didn't think I would actually go through with it because I've never done anything like that. But I brought it up on a crazy whim, and he was talking about going to San Diego and going on the beach, and like
right.
it wasn't like let's go to an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. So
No, I get it, but that's not the location of the trip doesn't matter. It's still a trip, right? Where
okay,
y'all are going to be isolated. So his whole thing was, I'm going to let it be known that physical intimacy is very important to me. So he's just preparing you psychologically and doing a quick little sniff test of, he's doing one thing. One, he's trying to see how you respond to him conveying how important physical intimacy is to him. And two, he's psychologically preparing you to sleep with him when y'all do go on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, he's on a dating app. You're not the only woman he's talking to. More than likely, you're not the only woman he's talking to. If he really was that uncontrollably horny, he could just go out with someone in his city and go ahead and handle that, right? He's letting you know, like, I'm trying to, bust a few of these boys out, right? So
Yeah.
I need you to be prepared
Yeah.
to assume the position once we get into his Airbnb. He said that in, many more words, but that's ultimately the point that he was trying to convey. Right? So, and I'm sure you did hurt him when you canceled the trip because he was prepared. He probably had the lube, probably had ordered a pack of Trojans, was ready. And then you said that, the trip is canceled. And he's like, I was trying to, I didn't plan on whipping out the Jergens. But that's ultimately what this situation is, love. It doesn't sound like there's anything serious going on here. Even though y'all had like little movie dates and stuff like that on FaceTime, it's like, it doesn't feel like there's any 6 honey packs in. It's crazy. It doesn't feel like there was anything serious here. And the tell is the emphasis on his desire. He's essentially being like, don't waste my time. He's like, don't come out here if you don't bring them cheeks.
Okay.
He's like, make sure you bring the cheeks. When you pack in your bag, pack the cheeks. Make sure you have the cheeks with you when you come here because I'm going to need them cheeks. Okay?
Well, what if he agreed, like, to go on a dinner date and, like, pick me up from my parents' house? Like, does that matter? Does that change anything? Instead of the trip?
Instead of the trip?
Yeah, like, after we canceled the trip.
I mean, you can feel free to continue to entertain it if you want. I'm not telling you not to talk to him. I'm just kind of clarifying you what the situation is, right? Dating apps are, this is my thinking, okay? Dating apps are mainly just meat markets anyway. So we're in an environment that's mostly a meat market in the first place, right? And, okay, you gotta go. I don't know, you giving someone a wedgie? What the fuck is that noise? Anyway, so dating apps are already meat markets. On top of that, he's acting like he met you in a meat market. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So dating apps will already have a cliche stereotype of like just trying to sleep with you. And then when he matches with you, the main thing that he emphasizes, y'all talked about a lot of things, but the thing that he's double clicking on, the thing that he's retweeting is physical intimacy. That kind of tells you where his mind is. It's like, this is the thing that I'm prioritizing. So he strikes me as someone who's like very focused on the mission. If you do sleep with him, you're highly likely to see a different version of him on the back end of this.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No problem, love. Best luck to you, though, all right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, yes, I found the advice that you've said so far really helpful. And just going to add on to what the last caller said. They spoke about dating apps and stuff. Maybe I've missed this, but what was your opinion about dating apps? And at what point would you say that like a woman should possibly use dating apps? I feel like, in my opinion, you should really go on it when you're like, you've like explored all your options. But what's your thoughts and what's your strategy?
It's not ideal. There are people on, well, one, dating apps don't even truly reflect or mirror how we form romantic connections in real life. Right? It reduces people. It takes people who are multidimensional and it reduces them to their physicality, right? You know, as a woman, you have a lot of lights, you have a lot of men trying to get your attention. So you have to find a way to filter all those options. And the main way that you filter those options is by being hypercritical over aesthetics and the type of pictures men take and the clothing that they have on, right? Things you wouldn't weigh so heavily in real life. Make sense so far? You're muted, by the way. Not you unmuted yourself, then you muted yourself. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on top of that, there are meat markets for the most part. Are there quality people up there? Sure, but when the quality people join dating apps, they tend to leave relatively quickly. They tend to have negative experiences, and they're like, you know what, I don't like this, and they get off. The people who are up there month after month after month after month after month, them the ones to watch out for. Those are the ones to keep an eye on, because either they can't hold any connection, or they're up there for a grand time, right? They're up there just having a ball. And those are the two extremes of people who stay up there. Is they just can't find a connection because something's off with them, or they're just out there just giving it out, right? So the better approach would be to put yourself in static environments, which are environments where you see the same people over and over again. This is why it was easier to make romantic connections in school, and why so many people want to date their coworkers, because when you see people over and over again, you build familiarity with the people, and familiarity can open the door to attraction, right? So the better approach would be to not necessarily get rid of dating apps, but not to depend on them. That's the danger. A lot of people who download dating apps, both men and women, because it's so easy to make connections on dating apps, they use that as the totality of their dating strategy. They're like, why would I go and approach people or join clubs or anything like that if I could just match with people on this app? And it becomes their entire dating experience. And my hypothesis is the main reason why so many people are complaining about dating nowadays is because all of their dating experience is coming from dating apps. So it's coming from the worst place possible.
Yes, so I don't think I don't know if you said this, but like at what age do you think, if I was to use it as an option, what, like for women generally, would you tell them to use it alongside dating normally, or like would you tell them to use it as like, you know, like maybe when they're like have like no options?
If you have no options, then the question will become, why do you have no options, right? So let's address that first before we start trying to, because we have no options, that's a problem. Right?
No, I'm not talking about myself. I'm just saying.
I mean, in general, like if a woman has no options, then it's like, okay, well, why do you have no options? Like maybe you gotta get in the gym. Maybe we gotta start dressing better, right? Because if you have no options in real life, then like you're gonna have a terrible time on dating apps. So, I mean, I don't recommend them to anyone. The only time I recommend dating apps is I recommend them to guys who have very little experience dating, because it's a good way to get like experience fast. And I recommend them to people who have real life constraints, like people who live in a very small town or extremely rural area, right? Where it's harder to meet people. They would have to commute a long ways to meet people. And even then, I try to exhaust every other option before I go to, you should get on an app. Apps do the complete opposite of what they tell you. They tell you it's meant to be, they keep you up there.
Yes, there's also like really high-end apps. I don't know what you think about them, like Raya or like Slap or something like that. Like,
I haven't heard of
the new ones like Swears.
The no app is going to work. No app is going to do it. There's no new invention, that there is no new update. It's the problem is that it's an app itself. I know people who are on Raya and they tell you, you sound kind of committed to using an app, but I mean, do what you want. But I've known people on Raya, and people on Raya would tell you, you'll get matches, you will not get a date. That's like the cliche joke of Raya is you'll match with people, sure. You're not gonna meet them though. Because a lot of this is like, who can I match with? It's a game of who can I match with, especially the higher end apps. People on Riot is like, can I match with Justin Timberlake? Let me see if he'll like me back. It's not really about going out with him. It's like, let me get the validation of knowing I could match with somebody like that, right? So apps are never going to be the way to form good relationships. It's not a matter of the best app just hasn't been invented yet. It's not that. It's the fact that people need to interact with people in real time, flesh and blood interaction, not through a screen. Okay? All right, Sasha, good talk. You take care. Okay, her. What's going on? Her, are you there?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, in relation to what you said about that lady yesterday, you were saying that she wanted to date somebody on a higher tax bracket. It's all good and if someone wants to date somebody of a higher tax bracket, what advice would you give to someone if someone wanted to keep someone because I think it's often harder to stay with someone who has a slightly different lifestyle to you, or quote unquote what people call high value men.
What's the question?
I was saying, what advice would you give to people if they wanted to stay with a high value man or someone of a higher tax bracket long term?
Why do you want somebody with a high? The question seems very transactional in nature.
No, because people often say that okay, if people want someone from this tax bracket, but then they also say that it's actually harder to keep someone from that tax bracket. And I was like, what advice would you give to that if they're slightly different to you?
Yeah, because people in higher tax brackets tend to want people who also are in higher tax brackets.
Okay, and my last question is, you were talking about presents. What advice would you give to people
Are you writing a paper or something? What is going on right now? Are you writing a paper or something? What's going on right now?
No, I just kept I liked what you were talking about, so okay. I wanted to know what would you say to people who want to have a presence, or women who want to have a good presence.
The doorway to having more presence is just putting your awareness in your body, right? So get engaged in activities that cultivate more bodily awareness. So getting in the gym, doing Pilates, dancing, right? Those are ways where you're going to be a bit more grounded in your physicality and therefore can access more of a present state.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem, love. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then you said podcast energy? What does podcast energy mean? Moz, can y'all remove Sasha? Because my removal button isn't working for her specifically. See if y'all can do it. Let's let Nancy, what's going on?
Hello, can you hear me? I have my fan running because I don't know if it's too loud.
Okay, you're good. Long time no speak. How you been?
I know, it's been a while. So, I have a question because last time I spoke to you, I was single and then I started dating somebody and it got pretty serious and we're pretty much in a relationship, but he keeps on finding things to complain about, and I feel like it's too early. I mean, it's good for him to communicate that, but he's just saying that I don't communicate enough with him. And I mean, I work with him, I see him every day and I tell him good morning. And then when I'm out of work, he knows that I'm at the gym, and then I come home, I call him and, talk to him, and then I do some work, and then I call him again and let him know that, I'm going to bed. But I'm not sure if he's just finding some flaws with me not, I feel like I communicate. I tell him exactly what's on my mind. Um, you know, I tell him, hey, if you want to come to the gym with me, you can come to the gym with me. I call him and I tell him, hey, I'm going to Target. You want to come? Or things like that. And I don't know if he's just finding, at this point, like my gut feeling is like, is he finding something to, break things off, or what's going on?
How long have y'all been dating?
So we started dating end of February.
Okay. Um, and you said you work with him.
Yes, I work with him.
Oof, Nancy. All right, coworker love. So you're talking to this man. So you like, how frequently do y'all see each other at work?
So I see him, I tell him, well, on the weekdays it's hard because of work and because I keep myself busy after work. So I typically always see him like Friday night, Saturday, sometimes Sunday. Um, this past weekend, it was like every day this weekend.
Okay.
So
And y'all are
he
not.
gets
Go ahead. Keep going.
he gets upset like if I have other things going on. Like, for example, on Friday of last week, he asked me to go to his aunt's house because his aunt has a pool and he wanted to, sit by the pool. And I told him, like, yeah, I'll go around 7. And at 7, I called him up, told him, hey, I'm cleaning my backyard. I'm gonna probably not be there. He got super upset, and it was just like, oh, we don't have compatibility. You're not communicating. You seem to have other things that are your priority. So I think it was just, yeah, it was just like him saying like, oh, I don't think we're aligned.
Okay, so he's not talking about communication in terms of frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. He's talking about like we had a date plan and at this time, and then the moment that time came, you texted and said you're not going to make it. So he looked at that as being inconsiderate.
Yes.
Right. Is that something you've done multiple times?
No, it was the first time I did that.
Okay. Is that the only time that he's complained about communication?
No, he's been complaining about, like today, he complained about the communication, saying that I don't communicate enough. And I'm like, I just texted you this morning, and then I see you at work. And he was texting me this while at work. I'm like, well, I have to work. I can't be glued to my phone 24/7.
Right. And what was his response?
He just said that his other relationships, like out of all of his other relationships, I'm the one that communicates the least. And I've told him before, I don't like to be compared to, previous relationships. I don't like to bring in like the past,
Right.
I'm not those other people.
Right. So y'all aren't in a relationship right now, right?
Yes.
You are in a relationship.
Yes.
Okay, so how long did y'all date before getting into a relationship?
He asked me right away, like on our second date.
Nancy, come on. We can't do that. Okay. This man is definitely anxious. The reason why you can't say yes to stuff like that is because the person doesn't know you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not asking you. He's asking who he thinks you to be. Right?
Yeah.
He didn't ask you to be in a relationship. He asked the version of you that exists only in his head to be in a relationship.
That makes
Right?
sense.
And you said yes because you've been wanting a relationship.
Exactly.
So that's why you can't move like this, because now you're in a bad relationship. Right? This is a bad relationship. Because when you got that much friction this early, you're supposed to be, if you're fighting in the honeymoon phase, you might as well go ahead and cut that. If you're fighting and having all these issues in the honeymoon phase, where things are supposed to be mostly like 80% sunshine and rainbows, we're having like fights in this phase. So it's gonna get way worse because he still is somewhat wearing a mask right now. Because y'all haven't been dealing with each other long. So this still isn't really like who he fully is. He's still kind of leaving some energy in the tank. If you were to get closer to him, you're going to see a lot more of this and probably more extreme levels of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he like. I'm like I'm a good girl. I'm like I just, I work. I go to the gym. I come home. I upkeep my house. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I don't see it as like I have to be glued to my phone 24/7, trying to see if he texts or me texting him like wherever I'm going.
Right.
Like it's
No.
yeah.
But remember, most of these calls I receive, the person made the mistake earlier in the process. This whole thing you're complaining, you're annoyed with, is a second order effect of the real problem. The real problem was he asked you to be his girlfriend on the second date. That was the signal that he was a little off.
Mm-hmm.
And you said yes, and then you saying yes and entering into this game with him is what created the new problem, which is now he wants you talking to him 24/7. Yeah, those two things go together, by the way. Someone asking you to be with them on the second date aligns perfectly with the person who's asking you to talk to them 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. He needs. I don't know. Is that bad? Like, is someone wanting your attention 24/7? To me, it just seems exhausting.
Yes, you have to ask yourself why. You have to go a layer deeper. You're focusing on the surface behavior, not asking yourself why is this even occurring? Why does he need you to talk to him every single day? Is it that he just misses you? No, that's not it. Why does he need you to talk to him all day?
Maybe he thinks, I'm not sure, like he's insecure. He just wants to know what I'm doing at every minute of the day.
Yep. That and or he views you not talking to him every day as a indication that you may not be feeling him like that or wanting him. So he feels safe when there's constant signs that you're still in the connection. The moment you don't interact, it feels to him like danger, like she's leaving, right? So
Yeah.
this isn't gonna work. This isn't something where let's have a conversation. No, this is nothing you can really talk about. This is just the core mistake was agreeing to be in a relationship on the second date. That would have been like, that's like big red flag territory of like, what did he say to even sweeten the deal of entering into a relationship on the second date? How did he sell that?
He just pretty much just said like, I really like you and just catching feelings for you and talking to you. You pretty much have your life put together and, things like that. Like he didn't want me to be dating anyone else. He just wanted us to make it official.
Right.
I guess, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you're also very beautiful, Nancy. So it's like that's also part of the equation here. Probably a more beautiful woman than he's used to dealing with. So he's like, all right, and you go ahead and lock this one down ASAP. What do you call like the man's first baddie? Isn't that the thing?
Yeah.
They start. I like how you said yeah like that. Like yeah, everything you say is true. But yeah, that's the situation, your love. It's just not. It's not going to.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So I hate to tell you that because ending the relationship now you still have to work with him and see him. It is what it is. But yeah, if there was a way to change the situation to kind of like get steer it to a healthier place, I would tell you. Yeah, you're not in one of those situations.
Yeah, I try to justify. Sorry, I don't want to prolong this, but I try to tell him like, hey, I do this, I communicate, I tell you where I'm going, I like, what's the deal? Like, I'm always full transparent with you. I'm like, I don't understand where this is coming from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just all it is, love. Is like he needs constant reassurance, and there may be some fear there about like you possibly dealing with somebody else. So I need to know exactly what's going on with you at all times. But that's going to be the experience you will continue to have as long as you deal with this person, unfortunately.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the advice.
No problem, Nancy. Next time, you come back before you pull the trigger on that, all right?
All right.
All right, love. You take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right, only one. What's going on? Only one, you are muted. Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. Hello.
Hey, I'm back again.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I don't know if you remember me. I was telling you about the guy that I was dating, and he let his ex move in with him. And you was like, since we're not official, that there's kind of a tricky situation either way. But you wouldn't stay. You would have left.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Okay, what's going on? Is that like a new?
Yes and no, because it's like now I feel like we're in a weird spot because she stayed for about a month. Was it hard for me? Extremely. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be patient. And then right around our 3-month mark, I'm like, so what are we doing now? Right? And he was like, well, I like the way we're going, but it's a few things that we still need to work on. And again, I'm open for that, but it's also things that you need to work on, right?
Right.
So he's like, well, let's just keep doing what we're doing. I'm like, we're acting and moving like a couple, and yet you want to still continue to move like we're just dating. And so I said, okay, that's fine, we can do that, but I want to open it back up and not be exclusive if that's the case, because I felt like I had all this trust for a full month, and then you're essentially saying, let's keep going. And I'm like, 3 months, I was just exclusive with you. Okay, if you want to continue to date me, let's date other people. And then at that point, he's like, he's so brokenhearted, he's upset, and now he's not sure what he wants to do. And honestly, I feel like he's playing in my face a little bit. So you want to, and then like periodically, so I kind of backed off of him because he acted like he was so hurt. And I'm like, for a full month, I had to give you grace, because even though we talked a lot and hung out a lot, it still was time where we were not together when she was there. But you're so hurt because I just mentioned talking to other people, yet you live with your ex for a month. How does that even compare? And now he's like, oh, I don't know, I was so hurt that you even said that you want to talk to other people, so I've been slowly backing off. And every time I back off, he pops back up, oh, what you doing? Let's hang, I miss you. And it's like we do this every couple of days. And at this point, I'm like, I really do care about him, but at the same time, I just want to just be done, because I feel like after 3 months, you should. Well, we're about to go on our 4th month. Like what? Tomorrow? Before? I feel like I'm stupid for even still sticking around, honestly, for this long.
Okay. So what's the question here?
Should I just walk away and leave it alone?
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you've been dealing with him for almost 4 months, right?
Yeah.
Consistently. If y'all were to put a title on things, nothing would fundamentally change about the relationship. Like that's the weirdness, and that's almost like a heuristic of how to even think about this. If you're in a place where if you put a label on things wouldn't change anything about the connection,
What?
and they're still not giving it to you, go ahead and dip out. They
You're
don't
right.
want to be with you, or they don't have the capacity to be with you.
I agree.
Because it's like, why is that label so?
Right. We're moving and acting as such. The only difference
Right.
is we don't have a label, but we're doing everything else.
Right.
Okay. I am disappointed. I was reading the comments, but
It's
yeah.
natural to be disappointed. Like I don't you know, you don't have to. It's not, you're not being stupid, right? It's emotions can confuse things. You like somebody. I made a video about that today. It was a story that somebody told me in a live, and I was like, you want to kind of be able to vet people before you start liking them a lot. You know what I mean? Because then you start liking them a lot, it's like it gets so much harder to leave. But it just is what it is. It's very, you're rolling the dice as a woman with stuff like this because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You only know once enough time passes.
Yeah.
You
It's
know what I
even
mean?
it's a yo-yo.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
There's no
She's
perfect
right.
way to tell you like how to approach things. There's no perfect way with someone. Any dating coach can be like, okay, here's the way that you engage, and then you're guaranteed to get the. No, that doesn't
Yeah.
exist. You're literally rolling the dice, and you're hoping that
Yeah.
things work out, and then the discernment comes in. Like you just have to have the strength
Yeah.
to
Because after you
pull the
invested
plug.
so much time and
Right.
you're hoping that it works out, because I feel like everybody has red flags. You just have to pick and choose which red flags that you're going to accept.
Right, and then you pull the plug whenever once you get to that point where it's like, oh, this isn't going to happen, and don't delude yourself into thinking that something's going to happen, right? But also part of you is very angry about this because he lived with his ex. That's the other part about this is really
Yeah.
bothering you.
Yeah. And then
And
he
this,
told me he was okay with losing me just to help her. And that hurt. And I can't, and I told him, I said, I think that's another part of me that's kind of okay with backing away. Because if you're okay with losing me to help an ex because she's so-called homeless, why don't you take her behind back to wherever planet she came from?
right, but that's why you don't make decisions that abandon yourself. You can't get mad with him on that, right? Because you could have left in that situation. You decided not to.
You're right.
And
You're right. You did. You told me that. You're right.
You know, so that's part of why this is impacting you so much because you're like, motherfucker, I just did this, which was an impossible decision to make.
Right. You're right.
And you can't even, be in a relationship. I would think that would be evidence that,
Right.
or show
I'm willing
you.
to,
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So
You're
I
right.
get
I
it.
should have listened when we had the first talk, and you said you would have left, and I should have listened. But okay.
You live and you
Thanks.
learn. No need to beat yourself up. You live and you learn, right? The only mistake that will be made here is you not learning from the situation. That's it.
Yeah. Listen to the red flags and run when I can. Thank you.
No problem, love. And here's also what you also have to understand is that men do respect women have boundaries.
Yeah.
Right, there's games that women play with men, but there's also games that men play with women sometimes, and it's like one of them is like, how far can I take it?
Yeah.
Right, so you have to have boundaries. Like, don't think that having boundaries is going to scare people away because to some men it's actually more attractive for you to have boundaries, right?
No, you're right.
And for
Yeah,
the
100%.
ones who don't like it, then those are probably gonna be the ones who play in your face anyway.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to hold up your line. Thank you.
All right, love, you take care.
You too.
All right. Whoa, a few people in the queue. Few folks in the queue. Hello.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. What can I do for you?
I have a question because I listen to you a lot because I talk a lot in the comments.
Right.
And I always ask myself, why don't people get it? Why are you not getting it? Because I'm going to say women because women ask the same questions over and over again, and I think that they're using it as strategy versus being intentional.
Okay.
Because when I see someone is intentional, I see that they apply it to their personal life. Because I also feel that people separate their personal lives from their love lives, and they should not. They should always work on themselves as a person first. So can you explain the difference between strategy and intentional, and how that applies to you, in your personal life versus your love life? And
I don't know what you mean by strategy versus intentional.
So, the woman that just got out the lie, she came and told you this situation before, and you told her to leave. But instead, she went back trying to, I don't know, do something. And to me, I felt like she was trying to get some advice as strategy. She was not moving with intention. She was not moving to better herself. That's why it didn't work.
Okay. I think I kind of get what you're saying now. So you're like, you're not asking a question of what you should do in this situation. You're really asking how can I get what I want out of this situation? Is that what you mean?
No. How can I not necessarily get what you want with a person that's showing you that they don't like you like that, but how can I move so the next time this happens, I see it and I bow out gracefully. I think that's where people only apply it to the love life side and not the personal life side. If you understand what I'm saying. When you say do the work, and people think it means do the work to get a man or be feminine to get a man. Not necessarily be feminine because it's who you should be as a woman.
I got you. Okay. So you're saying they're not intrinsically motivated, they're extrinsically motivated.
Correct.
So there's something outside of themselves they're trying to obtain instead of just being motivated internally, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, 'cause that's just how most people are. Most people are extrinsically motivated. I think you start. You don't. I think for most people, you start by being extrinsically motivated, and then you transition into intrinsic motivation. Right. So it's just where you are on the path of development. But most women are why would they even want to be more feminine? I would think that most women who have a goal of being more feminine is probably for some sort of external goal, right?
Right.
It would be for, the soft life of living a life of less stress, which is an extrinsic motivation. It would be to get into a relationship, which is also an extrinsic motivation. So for that example that you use, I would understand why women want to be more feminine. But there's nothing inherently wrong with that, I don't think, because a lot of people do want some degree of partnership, right? They have spent a lot of time alone. Not all these people are people who just are fresh out of a relationship and are looking for the next one. Some of them have been single for 4 or 5 years, a decade, and they're the last thing they want to hear is doing more self-work. They're I've done all of that. Where is my man? Where is my woman? Right? They're at that phase. Last thing they want is for somebody else to be oh, you should be alone longer and do more work on yourself. It's when is the work done, right? So that's my answer to the intrinsic, extrinsic question. Does that answer your question, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that you have to be single and do the work. I mean, you just have to find somebody that's going to support you. It's not just choosing the right person. But yeah, and for me, for example, I've been single for 3 years, and I can't really say that I have the same experiences as the other women. I'm like, I dated, I had the time of my life, and because I did the work on the inside and not only the outside.
Okay, what does the time of your life mean? Does that mean like you're not focused on a relationship?
No, it's like I don't have the same outcomes with men because I'm not quick to cut it off, but I more sit and watch people and listen to them. Like, for example, I was talking to this guy and I saw that he was bad with his finances, but he said he wants to lead. And I told him, you can't possibly lead me if you can't even manage your finances right. That's not a leader.
Right.
So, I mean, things like that. I tell my daughter, women need to learn how to be quiet and observe, and because people show you who they are, right. And that's what I do.
Right, but with some of these other women, right, they can do the same thing you're describing and still be annoyed with the process because they want a relationship.
Yeah.
So even if they do like observe, like you're saying, they cut somebody off, they wouldn't describe that as having the time of their life. They would describe that as dating sucks because this is yet another guy I have to cut off. Why can't I be in a relationship? Why can't they want kids, they want all these things, and they want to be married first, and it's like, it keeps getting delayed because they can't find a person to kind of meet them halfway. That's for men or women, right? It's not even gendered. So yeah, I don't like some people, would describe it as a time of their life because they don't have any pressure on, like you said, you already have a daughter, right? They don't have any pressure on reproducing. They don't really pedestalize a ring of any sort or getting married or anything like that. So they can date just for the plot almost. And it's like, if we get into a relationship, we do. If we don't, we don't. Right? That sounds like your positioning. It's like, yeah, I'll be in a relationship, but not until it's right. And until then, I'm going to enjoy myself until it's in alignment, right? So I understand why you would be in a situation where you are like, I'm enjoying myself. Other people, it's like, I'm doing all of this to obtain this. And every time that doesn't work, a little bit of me is like, it's disappointing.
And see, that's where it comes back to moving with intention versus moving with strategy. Because strategy can only get you so far.
I don't know if we're using the right words there. It's more so about what your goal is, and you are at peace with your life as is. And I think a relationship, from what I gather from you, sounds like you're at peace with your life as is, and a relationship would be an addition, but not a necessary one.
Right.
Right? It's a nice to have, not a need to have.
Yeah.
Other people, they are more relational focused. I'm kind of like that, to be honest with you. I'm more relational focused. I'm through and through a relationship type of guy, right? Now, I can enjoy my singlehood, but if I had to choose, I'm choosing a relationship every single time. I like having somebody to connect with, right? So some people are, it's like, that's more so like a preference thing. It's even down to like a genetic expression. Some people are really more relational focused than others. And some are like, I can take it or leave it. And then others are like, I don't want it at all. And it's a whole spectrum. You probably heard people on this live who are like, I don't want a relationship at all. Actually, can we live in different houses in the same neighborhood? You know what I mean? Women call my lives like, I just want to live in different houses, same neighborhood, right? They don't really want that connection like that. Now, to you, that probably sounds crazy. It's like, no, if I get into a relationship, I want to be with my man, right?
Right.
But to them, it's like, that's what they want. That's just their preference. You're describing your preference. I'm cool with my life now. A man could be an addition, but I'm only entertaining if he's an addition. And then there's people who are like, I really would like companionship. I like when I hear people talk about solo traveling, I could not give a fuck about solo traveling. That doesn't sound like fun to me at all. I love sharing an experience with somebody. Like, going with somebody, whether that be friends or like a romantic partner, right? Like going with people to share an experience. But other people are like, I like going by myself because I get to plan my day and I don't have to wait for anybody. And I'm like, no, I like to point to things and be like, did you see that? Like, that's what I like to do, right? So it's just a different preference. That's all it is.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem, love. Best luck to you, all right?
Thank you.
All right. I came to that conclusion my first time solo traveling. I was like, I don't like this actually. This is not fun. I know people are like, well, you can meet people while you're there. It's like I've done that. It ain't the same as going with somebody, right? And y'all having that shared experience. At least for me. Okay, let me see. 4 people in the queue. Let's let Colin up. Yo.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good.
Good. What can I do for you?
Yeah, man. So, just going through a recent breakup.
Okay.
Broke things off with me about, what was that, late February, I think. We had met back in March of last year. And, you know, kind of going through things and kind of broke things off, I'd say 2 or 3 times initially before we made it official back in beginning of January.
Mm-hmm.
First one, I think, was on my behalf. The next 2 times on her behalf because of my inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
In retrospect, now I am starting to go into therapy, learning about my childhood, essentially, kind of formed me to, you know, my actions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Never really been, I'm 30 years old, never been in a serious relationship, never had an issue with women, but never, I guess, committed to any. Coming from a divorced household, my father always telling me, stay single. Don't get married, this and that, hearing it from his friends, hearing it from my friends, and I think I acted on a lot of lust most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Never really allowed myself to surrender to love. And then, met her, and she kind of, you know, really opened up my heart and stuff. And the inconsistencies, I think, were mainly, she thought I was acting on lust a lot of the times because I was going hot and cold, especially, you know, after sex and stuff. But, you know, in retrospect, a lot of it, I think, was a battle between my heart is telling me this is right, but my head, it's like, this is unfamiliar territory. Can I do this long term? Trying to find a reason, essentially. And then, yeah, just basically inconsistencies on my end. And then she has a lot going on. She just bought a house, raising a puppy, trying to rekindle stuff with her family. And then it was just kind of out of the blue, nowhere. You know, she kind of broke things off. I don't think she did over text, too. A lot of our communication was over text. She never wanted to talk about deep stuff in person or over the phone. And so, yeah, that's kind of, you know, where we're at now, and tried to fight for her, you know, saying I, you know, needed to change and stuff. And there's a weird spiritual side of this, too, that came into play. And then, yeah, now just kind of out in no man's land. You know, I did reach out to her, I'd say about 2 weeks after the breakup, asking, you know, telling her I was thinking about her, and I hope her move went in good. And she, you know, she replied to me saying, you know, well, and, you know, that was before she told me no further contact is needed. And I went ahead and I did that a week later, and she replied, but thought it would be best to give her space. Haven't spoken to her coming up on a month now, so just trying to, you know, work on myself, improve myself. I learned so much, and doing the deep internal work now that I needed to do in November or whenever the last breakout was. But yeah, just kind of confused, you know. I do ultimately love her and realize she was basically a vessel to God, and there's, like I said, a weird spiritual side of it. But yeah, just working on myself, just trying to, you know, I do want her back in my life, but, you know, don't really know the best way to, you know, down the road to figure that out. That's kind of what I was asking advice about.
Okay.
That was kind of a lot thrown at you.
Yeah, it was a bit, but I get it. So, I mean, what's the core question here?
I guess, you know, I'm still having, God is essentially telling me just, like, you know, give her space. I'm going through the same situation. I'm in the process of buying a house, so I know exactly what she was going through on top of dealing with my, you know, my crap. I guess my root question would be, you know, should I just give it some time and then just casually reach out, or just let it be if, let her reach out if she wants to, or, whatever. And we never really spent more than 2 weeks, I'd say, without talking the times that we did break up initially. We didn't really put the work in and time in to focus on ourselves.
Okay. So, I mean, what's the question then?
So I guess what would, should I just reach out in the future, or should I just let it be? It is what it is.
Yeah. I would real quick. Let me just, because there was a lot to unpack there. So it's like, okay, you broke up for what reason? Like, why did y'all end?
I'm sorry.
Why did y'all break up again?
It's kind of a couple of reasons. I mean, the main reason was my inconsistencies. She thought I was just sex motivated, but yet it was that constant battle of my head, my heart, and then also she was extremely sexually motivated as well too. She was initiating it half the time as I was, so it was like, that was kind of her reasoning for that, and then the communication. But yeah.
Hold on, let's double click on that. You said that she thought you were too sex motivated?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
She thought I was just basically only wanted, after we would have sex and stuff, I would kind of go cold turkey, and not give her the attention and the consistency and that she needed. But in reality, yes, that's kind of true, but I wasn't cutting her off. I was fighting a battle that I didn't know at the time between my heart and my head. And in retrospect, I know that's what I was fighting.
What does that mean? Because it's like you're using poetic language, and I love it, but like let's ground it into like specific behaviors. So, what happened?
For instance, she would, we would hang out and then, have sex, and then I wouldn't text her, I guess, that night, and then I wouldn't text her or call her until the next day around noon or something like that.
Okay.
And she said that word for word, and I was just kind of thrown off by that. I was like, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what she kind of gave me some reasoning for that specifically.
Okay. And that was the main reason why she broke up with you?
I would say, yeah. Another one was the communication. She said I never really listened to her. I kind of came at her whenever she would just vent to me or something. I would kind of give her advice, almost like a father or a little brother. And ironically enough, the only really relationship I've ever seen my whole life was between my father and my sister, which was a constant argument every single day growing up. So it's
okay, hold on. So those are the main two reasons.
The acting on lust and the communication.
Okay. Communication, when she comes to you with a problem, you give advice instead of just listening.
Correct.
Okay. How long were y'all together?
In total, 10 months.
How did y'all meet? How did y'all meet?
I'm sorry?
How did y'all meet?
On Hinge. And we didn't even start dating until 8 months into it.
So y'all were like in a situationship?
Basically, yeah.
For 8 months, then the 10th month she broke up with you?
Yeah, so we went 8 months and then dated for 2 months.
Nope. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. The reason she gave is bullshit.
Yeah. And I think that's, I don't know. And like I said, I think, she
that's not,
a lot of it.
Nobody's breaking up over that. How soon did y'all start sleeping together?
Shit, way too quick. And
okay, and I'm assuming you acted the same way the whole time after sex was done.
Yeah.
Right. And so why does she magically have a problem with 8 months in?
Yeah, exactly. That's
bullshit.
What caught me off.
Bullshit. Once I heard the reason, I'm like, that's a justification. What's the other reason? Oh, you listen to me. You don't listen to me. You try to solve my problem. Another justification. Those were just excuses to break up.
Yeah.
So, okay, who initiated getting together into an actual relationship?
More so her. Like I said, we kind of broke things off 2 or 3 times before we even started dating officially. We went on a camping trip. She was kind of like, you should really start making, thinking about making this official. Really put some thought into it. And like I said, I've never really surrendered myself to love, and I really wanted to do that, and I really thought it, would be perfect. And that's whenever we made things official.
So she initiated making things official.
Yeah, I mean, we have had talks about it. we were both kind of hesitant a little bit, just, you know, for the commitment. I think she had some past traumas and stuff from her 6-year relationship that she got out of a year and a half before that.
Okay.
That I never really dove too far into. I just didn't want to bring, you know, some wounds up. But
Buddy might be back. Keep it a bean with you.
yeah.
Okay. So you said that y'all ended a few times before y'all even made it official. Who ended things in those instances?
Yeah, I would say I think I ended it initially within like 2-3 months. Just I think it was that uncertainty, trying to talk myself out of it. I couldn't see myself doing this long term. This is new to me, essentially.
Okay.
And, you know, I had some time away from her. When I say time away, it wasn't long enough. It was about a week or two. It's like, damn, like, no, she's really actually good to me. She's good to my dog. Like, I could see, you know, me having a family with her. Reach back out to her, work on things. She told me I just need to surrender, learn how to be more emotionally, just to surrender emotionally to her. Never really did the internal work like I needed to until now. And then kind of the same cycle would go. Kind of that constant battle between my heart and my head. Hey, I don't think this is going to work out, Colin. That reason, you know, you're too inconsistent. Boom. 2 weeks go by, reach back out, same thing.
So you would end things and then try to get her back?
She ended it twice, and I think I ended it once.
She ended things twice, then she came back to you? Or you pursued her and got her back?
I pursued her.
Interesting. Okay. When you were dating her, do you feel like, did she read you very well, do you think?
Yeah, I think she read me pretty well, but I will say I even noticed at times I would have a front or kind of like a barrier. I wouldn't really allow myself to be emotionally vulnerable to her like I should have been. And I think, you know, that's wrong on my behalf, but she could kind of pick up on things before me, I would say.
Okay. Do you know why her 6-year relationship ended?
Basically, a little bit of the same thing. I know her ex-boyfriend, she gave me kind of the cliff notes of it, that he was just very unmotivated, didn't really want to do too much. A lot of just sitting at home, doing nothing, smoking, playing video games. So, yeah. And then, but yeah, whenever we were in the relationship, you know, especially when she got her new puppy and she had another dog, I was trying to go out and stuff, and she didn't want to go out. Wanted to stay home with the dogs, and then guess what happens whenever we stay at home with the dogs? We end up watching a movie, hooking up. It's like, you know.
Gotcha. I can't say there's any kind of certainty, but this definitely sounds like a dismissive, avoidant, and fearful avoidant parent.
Mm-hmm.
With you being the dismissive avoidant, her being the fearful avoidant. The pattern would make sense.
Yeah.
Or two fearful avoidants. You possibly would be fearful avoidant yourself. But yeah, she definitely has some degree of avoidant nature. If she like dated you for 8 months and then breaks up with you, you know, on the 10th month for some bullshit reasons. But I if I was betting, I would say dismissive avoidant, fearful avoidant. If that's the case, keep doing your inner work. That's good that you're doing that. That could be a good catalyst. This was obviously a good catalyst for you to do the good inner work. But this relationship doesn't work. There's no reason for you to pursue this. Think about it. You've already played that pattern out. You've already pursued her twice. What is going to change this next time? You think what's going to change is I'm doing the inner work, so I come to you more healthy, and now I can give you what you want. That's what you think. That ain't what's going to happen here. She will just move the goalpost and find another reason to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I think, yeah, it's, like you said, it's a constant cycle, and it's kind of been the same reasons every single time. You know, like I said, a lot on my behalf. A lot of issues I know now, and, you know, like I said, I'm going through the same situation that she went through when she broke up with me, you know, getting a house, you know, dealing with all that stuff, so. I understand it now, but yeah. Oh, I appreciate it, man.
No problem, brother. Keep me posted on how it goes, all right?
Yes, sir. Will do, man.
All right, Chief. Take care. All right. That was an interesting dynamic. Hello.
Hey, my good friend. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I am fine. I hope you remember me, right?
Not at all, beloved.
You probably
You got-
talked to a million people. You're like, heck no. Okay. So I'll give you a little backstory. I'm the girl who came in and told you about the guy who was insecure and he broke up the relationship and he said how he was mentally depressed and how his jobs and all that. Do you remember a little bit of that? It was more of insecurity on his part where he was not accusing me of things, just saying like, why do I want to be with him and things like that. And then he ended the relationship and I moved. I don't know if you remember.
Very lightly, vaguely. As you talk more about it, I'm sure it'll come back to me.
Yeah, so it's been a little update.
Okay.
Now, this update is crazy. So basically, I'm gonna just give a little backstory so you kind of aware. He, courted me, vetted me, got me, this relationship just popped out of nowhere. He wasn't gonna look in, I did it the right way as far as, because women have that hard tendencies, like when you have children and then how quickly you don't want to introduce them and all that. I've been on both sides of it where I've waited.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a man trying to propose to me. He don't even know my child. You know what I mean? And then so I've been on the other side of it where, you take your time, I feel like if a man is really invested, he's going to want to build that relationship with your children. But then again, if that man turns up to be a, not a good guy, then look what happened, right? So I get both sides when people be like, oh, don't introduce your child so much. Okay, yeah, but you keep them away. But then he's proposing to you and don't even know your children. He shouldn't be doing that, right? But that's just I don't think a man should be proposing to a woman if he doesn't know her children. But that's just me. A lot of women don't really care. But fast forward, so I moved out back to Vegas from California for the relationship. He said he was mentally, depressed and he had to find himself and figure things out. So I took myself out of girlfriend mode, put myself in friend mode so I can understand his perspective. So I won't have all the emotions in it. You know what I mean? Women need to tend to do that when you're trying to actually hear your partner, right? So I did that. And, at this time I'm still thinking that, I did ask him if he was seeing anybody, talking to anybody. He was like, no, even though I'm out here, we're pretty much still locked in, but we're not together. We're not together, right? So no names, child's homegirl. Oh. I mean, I don't really care the names. I don't, so mind you, now I didn't really necessarily look at his page or do anything like that. I kind of just do my own thing. I found out that I was blocked. My daughter was still on a page with him and he posted a girl and says she has my heart in a relationship. So my daughter she was very hurt about it. I guess she said that she tried to reach out to him, but she was blocked. So she made a comment on the post and said, wow, you're in a relationship. You told me, my mom, that you needed to get yourself mentally, mentally, and you're depressed, and now you're in a whole new relationship. She said, I can't believe I trusted you and called you my dad. Now, my daughter is 18. When she met him, she was 16. So, at that age, you have to really build a relationship with a kid at that age in order for her to call you father or dad. You know what I mean? They're not little kids where they're just, catching on, saying mommy, daddy, type of thing. So, and even him telling her like, oh, I'm going to be there with you if anything happens to me and your mom, but me and your mom are getting married. So that happened. And then the girl commented on it. And yeah, so it kind of went left. I mean, I feel like she shouldn't have commented. She shouldn't have said anything. She should have deleted the comment because a child made a post, you know what I mean? But she didn't. So it went left. Now I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, so all that you told me was BS because you're in a whole new relationship. Or just a year ago, you were talking about you wanted to marry me. We were actively trying to conceive and everything. This is just like, I don't know if it's like a new trait of love bombing that's going on in 2026. That's like the new thing, honey, because people will be one way for a while and then and be a totally different person after, So, yeah, that happened. And then, I just told her my daughter's sad because she does love him, or so it's just like, wow. And then he did comment back and he made some comments and said, me and my daughter needs to go heal. Sir, sweetheart, do you know when he said that? I wanted to come through that freaking phone and go, I wanted to crash out, but I told myself, Fallon, just woosah, you know what I'm saying? Because you're an adult and you would be charged as one. You know what I mean? So Yeah, I was just like, wow. So all that I went through and all this that you were saying was a bunch of crap. Or was I just, you could have just told me that I was too much for you. I don't even know how to, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. I don't know, so. You use men's mental health for issue, and black men have a problem still to this day with even admitting to that. And then when you find a black woman who's on your side with it, it's not even real. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But I'm not gonna let it discourage me or kind of like taint me for the next man, because I don't know. I guess I'm not broken from it. I kind of upset, not really like hurt. If that makes, I don't even know. I'm more mad than upset. Like, you know, she was supposed to expose her mama, man, out of her life. Yeah, I would have told my daughter not to comment on that, but because she knows she's a good girl. She stays in, adults, not in adults places and stuff like that. But that must have really got to her. But yeah. What's your take on that? It was just a bunch of BS, right? All that mental health BS and all, holding a relationship, or was it just basically you just, and the little girl, she's cute. She's not, I'm not gonna say she's an ugly girl, but she's not stopping traffic.
Maz, no more calls.
Better about himself being with someone who is less, maybe, because he used to say things to me like, "You sure you want to be with me, or you can have anybody, or so beautiful, this and that. Like, why do you want me?" And I didn't really catch on to it. I just, pumped him up, made him feel like he was that man.
Oh, one thing, if someone ever tells you that, believe them.
Yes.
Don't ever. If someone says you're too good for me, or questions why you want to be with them, just go ahead and do them a favor and end it right there. Now, how long did y'all date?
So I knew of him before. He's from school, whatever. But as far as dating, romantically, we dated for about 4 months before we made it official, and then we moved in together 3 months after we made it official.
Ooh, why'd you do that?
Yeah, I mean that right there was more so of like he was supposed to move out to Vegas because I wasn't going to go anywhere. This is the guy that I actually moved to state for, and I told him like straight up, like, listen, I had a backup plan. I get it, ladies be saying don't move to state. You got to take your chances. Could have ended good or bad, but just make sure you have your own money and your backup plan just in case anything was to happen. You can up and move without needing, you know what I mean? So that's what I did. I had my stuff together and made sure, but I did spend unnecessarily money because I told him, like, if anything was to happen, we just got to stick together. As long as we stick together, like crazy when he lost his job. And then it was just like, in my eyes, I'm thinking like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure out finances. If we got to downgrade from this 4-bedroom, let's get this 2-bedroom. We got 2 daughters.
Wait,
we can do it.
So your daughter was living with you?
Yeah, when we got our first apartment together, we all moved in together.
Okay.
So during the time, we was living separately at first. So when I moved to California.
But you're talking very fast. I gotta slow that down. Why did you move in with him so quickly?
Well, because we were dating in a different state. He was in Cali, I was in Vegas. So once we made it official, and he was going to relocate to where I was, the job didn't come through. So he was like, I don't want to move out there with no job, so I'd rather stay here. My job was remote. So in this time, we're like, okay, we're talking about being together. We're going to do this. Then it was no issue for me to go to California, with my job, and that's that. But I did say, hey, I was very cautious about it, but it is what it is at this point. He didn't honor his word. It was just a bunch of things, and I think women tend to.
Hold on. You're speeding past it. We gotta slow this down. That was the first mistake.
What, moving?
Moving in with him.
No, I didn't move in. I didn't move. We got our place together. We didn't move into.
No. Point, like just living together. Period. That fast. Right, like you could move to you can move closer, but you don't move in yet, right? That's way too fast.
I mean,
especially with
like if 2 people want it, and that's what it is.
Especially with a daughter, beloved. Like you look at the statistics, when there's any kind of molestation or anything like that, it's with a step parent.
But that's what I'm saying. I did it the right way this time. He had to build a relationship with my daughter way before we moved in. Way before we knew each other already. We just spent 8 months together with the kids and getting to know each other and all that. before we moved in.
You said you
with
did
each
it.
other.
You said you did it for 4 months and then you moved in with
We
her.
dated for 4 months. Like we
Okay.
were spending time with each other, but we weren't dating romantically. Like I would see him at the games. We would go to lunch. The kids would hang out. We was like in group activities and just hanging out and stuff like that. And then we started talking and we started dating romantically for 4 months. And then after the 4 months, I would say maybe like 2, almost 3 months later, we decided to get a place together. So he already built this relationship. I already knew his daughter. I already knew my daughter. We were already, comfortable with each other. Like I knew him. He wasn't a stranger to somebody I met. I already knew of him. It just wasn't.
Here's the thing.
romantically.
You keep saying you knew him, but in the
Yeah.
same breath, you're talking about how this person you knew so well surprised the hell out of
Well,
you
because
by being in another
people are
relationship.
different romantically. People are very
That's
different once they get into the romantic
right.
side.
Right. You're talking very fast, but we got to slow this down because you're contradicting yourself. That's the same point I was going to make you. People are different romantically, therefore you can't even factor in this whole friendship connection because that ain't the same thing as knowing somebody romantically.
Well, aren't you supposed to start off as friends and then you go there? You don't start off as romantically. I thought you're supposed to start off as friends.
You're
You're
contradicting yourself again. You literally just said that the reason why you didn't know them so well is because people are different romantically than they are platonically. I agree with you, which is why you should not have moved in with him because you didn't know him romantically long enough.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
Okay. So you moved in way too fast, especially with a daughter, way too fast. The first mistake was moving in. Everything else is a second order. Everything
the fact that
else.
he's being transparent and I'm listening, so I am listening. Let him talk and let me listen.
The second order effect is going to be every other problem you experience here is because of that first mistake, moving in together. Your daughter getting attached to him, that would not have occurred if y'all did not live together. That only happened because y'all lived together. So of course she's going to have some degree of attachment with the man she lives with, who she has to see every day, right? That was the first mistake, was living together, right? So I'm not saying this is like all your fault. What I'm saying is that was a mistake on your end, right? Now, if you didn't make that mistake, this would still go the same way it probably already went. The difference would be your daughter wouldn't be as emotionally impacted in this situation.
But I think you missed the point. They were already bonded together and attached beforehand.
She was not calling that man her dad before y'all moved in together.
No, that didn't come until after. But I'm saying
that's the
they
point.
were already-
That's the point I'm making though. You're trying to defend yourself. The point I'm making is she wouldn't even have the dad dynamic with this man unless y'all lived in the same space.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I don't agree with that.
That's 100%. That's 100% the truth.
I mean, you're saying that had she been younger, I could probably say that. But at her age, she's very smart and she knows. I don't think that it would take just because she called him dad, just because and it's different because we didn't see him every day. He was a truck driver. He wasn't around once we got into the living situation and all of that. He was gone most of the time. We only saw him on the weekends, so it was. I wouldn't say that she called him dad because we moved in together and all that, because that was when she said it, I was like, you don't gotta say nothing like that. You don't have to do that. She was like, yeah, Mom, I know. But we talk and I feel like he's been a father to me. So I asked, I say I want to call him dad. Is that a problem? I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not bad. She didn't talk to me first about it.
He's been a father to me because we live together. That's the dynamic that has been created here. That living with somebody creates a psychological impact. It 100% does. Your daughter would not be calling this man father or look at him as such if she did not live with him. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Okay? So that would not have occurred unless y'all moved in together. It doesn't matter if he was a truck driver or not. You change the psychological orientation once you live in the same house. Okay? And y'all are dealing with each other like y'all are parents to this little girl, right? Okay, so I'm glad we're on the same page with that, all right? So that's the first mistake that was made. Now, when does depression enter into this situation? You said when he lost his job?
You said when did the what? I didn't hear you.
The depression.
The fake depression, yeah. When he lost his job.
Okay.
It was more so of I'm this, I'm that. But the thing is, what I've learned, what I think it was, is love bombing. People can say, oh, you can't stop going for this guy or stop doing this. People are literally wearing masks. People are, and you can spend time with them months and months and months. I mean, I have friends who are long-term relationships who've met their partners and got engaged within 3 months, and they're still been married 10 years later or 5 years later. You know, it really just, if that person if people want to act right, people want to act right, right? We can't really like choose to, you're bitter because he didn't choose you. I'm bitter. Your people in your comments, your little fans are. I don't feel like they feel your vibes.
Who beat me to it? Blocker too. Also blocker. I see why he chose somebody else, beloved. Jesus Christ. I see why he chose somebody else. I see exactly why he did it. I was trying to be patient with that one. But I see exactly. Actually, I hope you didn't block her. I wanted her to hear that part. Did we block her already? Did we block Hannah? Did you block her? Okay. Jesus Christ, bro. That's a lot. That is a lot. Whoa. Yeah, I would have made the same decision, actually. You want to know what happened? You moved in. He was like, yikes. That's what happened. You moved in. He said, yikes. You being here makes me, I'm sad now. I'm sad. I'm so sad. When you're here, I'm so sad for some reason. So I need you to leave so I can get myself together. And then when you left, you was like, for whatever reason, once she left, I'm happy again. I'm chipper. I'm over the moon. Once she left, I'm somehow very happy. So yeah, that's absolutely what happened, love. There's no way you're here telling your story and then 400 people are all like, Shorty's off her rocker. And you're like, nope, all 400 of you are wrong. I'm actually a very likable person. No, I promise you have a string of relationships that don't work out. String of men that you've dated that have not worked out, which is why you had to enter into the long distance relationship to begin with. Right? And then that didn't work out because you're an insufferable person, right? You're insufferable. I mean that with every fiber of my being. Danny, come in and clean the room, brother. Jesus Christ.
She was talking about pulling your page down and stuff, so I went ahead and just blocked her.
Yeah, just block her.
At that point.
Just block her.
So,
just block her.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as she started talking about little fans, I was like reaching for the disconnect button. Getting a little out of pocket.
You think all these people...
You gave her the sauce. You told her what she needed to hear.
Bro, some people are like... I should have went my gut on that one because like I saw from the beginning that like, oh, you're a little... Once she was pushing back on the whole like moving in, how you mad at us because you being goofy?
Yeah.
You're the goofy one moving in with someone who you ain't known. And then tried to breeze past it by talking very fast. Tried to breeze past talking very fast. I'm like, no, let's slow down, Speedy Gonzalez. Let's go back to that sentence you just tried to jump past real quick. Why did you move in with somebody that quickly with a daughter? A 16-year-old. Oh my God, your judgment is off. Terrible judgment. Terrible judgment. So she's gonna be single forever. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah. Some people do be stubborn, like they're very uncomfortable. That's the discomfort with their edge that you were talking about. Not being willing to face themselves or uncomfortable when they hear the truth.
Yeah, you can't be defensive, right? Like I said like earlier, the path, like what captures growth is not telling yourself the truth. Mm-hmm. And some people's ego can't handle it. Some people's ego cannot handle like ever being wrong. You probably know people like that. I'm sure people in the chat know people like that. They can't be wrong. They can't handle their ego can't handle it. So it's like they get defensive, then they want to attack. First they get defensive, then they attack. Like, how dare you tell me that I'm wrong? And it's like those are the most undeveloped people because their ego is just so fragile. But I mean, it is what it is. someone to imagine fighting with her though. Well, I bet it's a battle. She said this man love bombed her. She moved in with him. If anyone's the love bomber, you're the love bomber. What are we talking about? Oh my God, bro. People are unhinged. Those are people I don't work with. When I talk to and I'm like, oh, you're a little off.
Yeah, you're a little lost.
I can't deal with you when you off like that, bro. Like if you actually want to make a real change, all right, cool. I'll be patient with you and everything. When you are off like that though, gotta get you out of here. You gotta go.
Got some blue screen of death going on behind those eyes.
What are you talking about? Oh, little
it's like
section.
a operating system error. Crashes Windows.
Gotcha.
Nothing going on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. She was looking for security. What do you mean she was looking for security?
No, I would say when I was a computer nerd.
No, I was reading a comment.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading a comment. Someone said she was looking for security. I mean, be that as it may, Shorty is off her rocker.
Relationship with her is not secure. Very unsecure.
Anyway, man, what you got going on?
Nothing much. I was gonna come up and the chat was going crazy, but I was gonna try to just tell you I just went ahead and blocked her.
Right. No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was. Whoever removed her, I think Hannah removed her. I don't know if you seen like my arm go up. Oh no.
Yeah, I was like, all our arms are just moving in at the same time.
No, she has to get out of here. She has to go. Whoa, she's off.
We have to have a sniper in position for people like that. Just hand on the disconnect button.
And you know what? It started off with her being crazy. You know how it started off with her being crazy? She said, "Hello, my good friend." It already started crazy. It already started unhinged. I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen you before, actually. So I should have knew right then that this was gonna be one of the ones. This is gonna be one of the ones.
Remember me?
Oh my God, bro. Anyway, it is what it is. But
well, I won't take up Mark After Dark. I know the ladies.
Yeah, because I only got like 15.
Shareholders, they want full dividends.
Only got like 15 minutes of it, so yeah, I appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
All right, Chief. Whoa, I would ask y'all what's y'all favorite call from tonight, but it was probably. Yeah, let me stop the stream. Whoever just reminded me, I think it's CC. All right, YouTube.